Welcome to the Enlightened Misfits podcast, the space for entrepreneurs on a quest for unwavering certainty and purpose. I'm your host, Lauren, and each episode is a compass guiding you through authentic conversations, unraveling the mysteries of your human design chart, and offering tools from the remarkable guest. Join me as we embark on a journey to manifest greatness and create a life aligned with our deepest purpose. This is the space where misfits find their enlightenment. Welcome to the Enlightened Misfits podcast. Welcome back to the Enlightened Misfits podcast. I am your host, Lauren, and in today's episode, I have Emma. She is a medium and parapsychologist. Welcome, Emma. I'm so happy to have you. She's also from Delaware, so I'm excited. I always like it when I love talking to people all around the world, but I also like talking to people that are in Delaware.
Yeah, it's rare. Delaware's such a small state. You would think that, being the first state, more people would know about it and care.
Yes, that is very true. So for the listeners, people are probably wondering, what is a parapsychologist and kind of how did you get here? Like, kind of tell us a little bit about your story.
So I discovered parapsychology, honestly, through a friend of mine. His name's Adam. He was talking about it for a while because he's a psychologist. He works with kids with special needs like autism. And he's like, I was really interested in this branch. And I took psychology. I took psychology in college. And I was like, oh, well, maybe I can apply what I know from that to whatever this is. And I started doing research. And I found out that parapsychology is more or less the study of the paranormal from a mental point of view. So what I would do is I would go through to someone that's having issues with something spiritual, whether it be ghosts, demons, whatever it is that they think that they have going on. I would go in, I would investigate, I would figure things out. And then I would kind of determine whether or not it's someone's mentality, like someone's kind of portraying or putting that forward rather than it actually being a ghost or a spirit or whatever it is. It has a lot to do with astrology. It has a lot to do with personality of the mind and stuff like that. So it's more leaning towards the psychology portion than the paranormal. It's pretty cool.
Oh, I love that. And when you said psychology, I've always been really intrigued with like how the mind works. And I didn't realize this until it actually happened to me, that you think, and I'm sure a lot of us, like the listeners listening, had this experience, but I would think something was happening and it was really just my mind playing tricks on me. Like my mind telling me, oh, that's there. I'm like, but that's not physically there. Like I know it's not there, but it's like me, like, it's basically when they say it's like your own worst enemy is only your mind. Like statement is like true when it comes to that. So yeah, I love that. Now, when it comes to kind of your journey on mediumship, can you kind of share a little bit about like your discoveries? Like if somebody's listening to this right now, like, and you like, just like me, very similar to me, probably had your gifts since you were born. They just kind of awaken different parts of your life, like throughout your journey. So if somebody, can you share your story about a little bit about how you discovered your abilities as a medium and what inspired you to kind of specialize in parapsychology?
Yeah. So when I was, I want to say 10 or 11, maybe a little bit older, I visited Oregon to visit my uncle who lives down there. And he took us to this small, like in the woods. I think it's a cemetery that dates back to the Civil War. It was very hidden, like no one really knows about it other than people who already do. You can't see it from the road. We had traveled up to this, I don't know, it was very small, through the woods. I was messing around with my cousin who was much younger than me at the time, and we were all kind of looking at the graves, but not really fully paying attention to the importance of it, I guess you can say, because we were young. But Yes. I went up this hill and there was two graves there. There was a grave for an older man who was a soldier, soldier, gosh. And then there was a grave for a small girl who I think was 5. She had passed away. I don't know how or why, but she was 5 years old. And I remember seeing very vividly this image of a girl appear. She stood straight up next to the grave. She walked around it 3 times and then disappeared on top of the grave. My mom saw this too. We both were very shocked and curious, and my grandfather was very concerned for us because apparently we both turned white as a ghost. So that was that was when I started kind of figuring things out. I was like, okay, that was strange. I don't think that was fake because my mom saw it too. And my mom's also sensitive, not to my extent, but she can figure things out too. It's pretty cool. So then I kind of started, I don't know, feeling things more than seeing them. And I would kind of become more in tune with it. I'm a physical medium, so I feel things before I see them. I can't necessarily see spirits when they're near, but I can definitely feel them.
Okay.
And that comes with its annoyances.
Yeah.
When I moved to Delaware specifically, because I used to live in Jersey,
Okay.
when I became more established, I guess you can say, that's when I joined it's when I joined Parapsych. And Parapsych is our ghost investigation team, through my friend Adam, who is the head of the team.
Okay.
Be quiet, little man. So he kind of introduced me as the medium, and I didn't fully know what that meant. I just knew that I felt things, and I started to more like expand more upon that. Right. And do it professionally. Our first investigation was actually a house visit, where their son had passed away. I believe he had passed away very tragically. He was an adult, and they basically just wanted to make sure that he was okay. And they were having experiences, so they're like, it could be him. We want to make sure it's him, and we want to make sure that he's okay. That kind of stuff. So he went in, and I had gotten there late because I had to work. And apparently, as I walked through, they heard on I can't think of the name of the machine. It sends out radio signal and white noise
yeah,
like the
sound.
Yeah. So through that it came she's here, which was really interesting. And then my friend had told me from the minute they got there, this thing was asking for me, or this spirit was asking for me.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, okay. And that's when I kind of started to figure out, like, oh, this is serious. I can use this to help people. This is kind of cool. So
yeah. I love that. Thank you for explaining all that. I think a lot of people, when they think about mediums, it's sometimes I feel like lately it's like they're not educated enough. So I'm hoping that this episode will help clarify a lot of questions, I feel like, for people, because I feel like when it's not like like when people think of like psychics or like mediums, I should say, it's not all about, yeah, I can talk to dead people, or, like not, or it's like a fake thing or whatever. I'm kind of like you too when it comes to uh feeling things. Now I can also see spirits, but I don't see, now if I'm seeing like dark like spirits, that's to like really cleanse myself, because I don't open myself up to see any of that. Mostly it's like it looks like a really bright light, or it's like it looks like I see a picture or something. It's more, but I can feel it too, but I feel like those kind of get turned off and on depending on like how I want to respond to it, because I know for you too, it's like boundaries is a huge thing for me, because it's like I don't necessarily want to constantly read people all the time. It's just I don't want to. Like it's draining for me. Or if I'm with people. I literally say I'm not doing that. No, I'm not doing that. Like I literally could just say it to myself or out loud. And I always tell people, just because you work in the energy field or mediumship, it's like when I like disconnect, I'm disconnecting for a reason. Like I don't want to constantly be
Mhm.
giving messages and, constantly be reading people and all that stuff. So that's another thing I wanted to add to what you said. It's like boundaries are really, really important.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
so important. One of the first things I learned, and I don't even know who told me this. I think I just figured this out on my own, but I was very overwhelmed, especially as a child. When I started kind of realizing what was going on, it was very overwhelming, and I didn't know how to deal with it. Um, Actually, I was having, very ironic. I was having a problem with bullying in school, and I went to this, I guess she was a medium. I'm not entirely sure what she was, but my mom took me to this medium because she was visiting her. And the medium told me right then and there, like, hey, you have these gifts. I know you're here for an entirely different reason, but I'm going to teach you, I'm going to show you how to like handle what you need to do. And he taught me how to close things off, close my mind off, open my mind when I want it to, kind of
Yeah.
help filter out the stuff that I don't want, because it can get very overwhelming, especially when you're investigating a place that you know is haunted. I've had some insane experiences that have definitely drained me and overwhelmed me, especially if you're doing something like an overnight. Um, we've investigated this place called Kim's Crypt. It's a haunt, but it's on a old mill plantation thing. I don't know what the history is behind that. I just know that it was a mill back in the, I want to say, 1700s.
Okay.
Um, and I had some insane experiences there, which was surprising because I didn't expect to encounter anything that crazy at a mill. Like I knew it was a haunt.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird. And then the Conjuring House, that was the other very interesting experience.
I was going to ask you when you had said about the Conjuring house, like it's so well, people listening that are like into paranormal, like I just finished we just actually started the movie, it's on Amazon. It's called Found. And
Oh,
I always say to my fiance, I'm like, I don't want to watch scary movies just because I feel like I'm so, even if it's on a movie, I'm very sensitized to it. Like I know what's getting ready to happen. I can see it. Like I'll say it and he'll be like, how the did you know that? And I'm like, because I can physically see it, feel it. I'm like that something's getting ready to come out of the woods. I don't
yep.
like feeling like that. My heart's I feel like I'm constantly in fight or flight, and I'm watching a damn movie. Like this is
Yep.
crazy. I don't like it. But anyway, so I watch Found, and I really here's me. I'm like an investigator. Why are all these people like? Why are all these dead people here? But they're coming after these people and all this. I just think it's interesting. Like, not that I feel like I could do the whole experience. Like there's special people in the world that can do that, and thank God that there is. But when you did the investigation, like what stood out to you the most during the Conjuring house?
Yeah. So when we investigated the Conjuring House, it was owned by not the current owner, who there's a lot of drama going on with now, which also relates to parapsychology. So maybe I'll get into that a little later. But the original owners, it was a surprise. My one of the members of our team was like, "Oh, this is cool. I'm going to buy tickets for everyone."
Okay.
And originally I wasn't going to go because it was expensive. It's in Rhode Island and it's a long trip, and the like paying for the investigation itself is very expensive. But she wanted me to go because she's like, we need to have you there. There's like no way we're going to do this without you.
Right.
So she paid for me. We all went. It was me and my fiance, who is an occultist. So he knows kind of everything about demonology, occultism, anything like that. It's pretty cool. I don't want to learn that kind of stuff. That's all him. I don't want.
Same thing. There's always a special person that can do all that, and they are great at it, and they could just do it.
Yep.
Now, for the
Yep.
people that don't know what the Conjuring House is, can you kind of explain like what it is?
Yeah. So the Conjuring House is one of the more prolific, famous haunted houses that was investigated by Ed and Lorraine Warren. The Perrin family had lived there. They started experiencing some crazy stuff. Most notably, the youngest daughter experienced, I think it was 7 spirits around her bed telling her that there were bodies in the wall. There was the broken neck lady that was mentioned a lot. She was the one that would torment specifically the mother, Andrea Perrin. No, that was the daughter. I don't know the names. But the mother of them, she would bother her because she wanted her husband. There was also the moment where Ed and Lorraine Warren had tried to perform a seance. And during the seance, the mother started to have a very visceral reaction, and the husband got very, very angry at Ed and Lorraine Warren for putting her through that, and then punched Ed in the face. I love that story because he deserved it. So it's like those are like the key points. They thought it was demons. There was also that I always like to mention because I think it's unfair that this woman gets as much hate as she does when she did absolutely nothing wrong. In the movie, The Conjuring, they blamed the stuff on Bathsheba Sherman, who is a witch that possessed people in the movie. That is not what happened. Bathsheba had nothing to do with the Conjuring house, had nothing to do with the property. She was just a normal woman with an unfortunate name. And people have been destroying her grave ever since the movie came out. So I'm going to say that now. Bathsheba's not there. She is not a problem.
Yeah.
Very important.
Yes. Yeah. Or I guess I mean, up until recently, it's like, oh, you're a witch or whatever. I feel like it's probably the safest right now in this time, I guess, to say if you call yourself a witch, people look at you like, okay, like it's like the aliens, like there's aliens here, and people are like, so okay, like they don't care. It's just like, all right, like there's literally more crap that's going on that people are like, okay, like all that stuff. So thank you for explaining that, because I feel like if you've watched The Conjuring House, now if you want to go watch it, I've only watched it one time, but go watch it and then listen to what she's saying, and you'll probably pick up to what is, like obviously it's Hollywood, it's movie, they're gonna make it false. Sometimes I wish they didn't, but that's what happens.
Exactly what's in The Conjuring house, and it's not any demon. So
right. Yes.
There's dark stuff there, but it's nothing that can hurt you per se, unless they have like a surplus of energy to use to hurt you, which won't happen, in my opinion. I don't think it will. It did happen to someone, but that's because she effed around and found out. So
right. Well, I always talk about this all the time because people, even anything dark, like we have dark, we have dark and light in our like selves. So it's like the more that you focus on, I say this all the time, like your shadows, they're not scary, but it's like the society makes it like they're scary. And I'm like, no, they actually have a lot of wisdom in there. And, like any dark being or any dark spirit, if they healed or they heal part of that, they also could use that and have dark and light. It can't kill you, like it will feed off of your, being scared or whatever, try to play mind control or make you feel like you're not safe. That's what humans do. Like literally that's what they do.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
So, yeah. Like, so it's like, as long as I feel like that's like the fine line between feeling, and the thing about it is like spirits, they can feel it, you can feel it, they can feel it, you can't hide it. Like there's like there's no different, like when I channel and my body doesn't feel right, I'm like, I didn't ask for you, whoever you are, I didn't ask for you, and then I shut it off. Did not ask you, you're not welcome here. And they can't, like they literally can't unless you're welcoming them in there. It's kind of like going back to that movie or that show that I'm watching, Found. Like they act like other people, humans act like other people, and then they pretend they're going to help you, and then you let them in, and that's when they can come in because you just allow them in. Same thing with negative people. if you don't let them in, they can't come in. You know, if you let that, if you let them in, they're going to come in and they're going to destroy your life. Any toxic, any toxic dark energy, and you should be able to feel it. And then she's like, go back to like listening to your intuition, and I'm sure that comes a lot of your physical, mediumship. You have to like really listen to, your intuition too, right?
Yeah. I mean, I tell people all the time, like, not to be entirely scared of spirits and whatever in your house, whether it be just residual energy or not, because they are just people. They can do anything a person can. They are the remnants of a person that was not fully able to cross over. So naturally, they're going to be a bit annoyed. They're going to be a bit confused. They're going to be desperate. They're going to want attention. And the way they're going to get attention is to be annoying, which is the same thing as humans. Like, it's not different. It gets tricky when it's not a spirit and it is more than that, which honestly is more rare than you'd think. People like to shout demon when it's not actually a demon. That is a very, very rare thing to come across. But the one thing with parapsychology that I find very helpful is when you can differentiate between whatever it is, a spirit, a demon, some sort of egregore, whatever random spirit words, you can help that person through on the psychology portion, because if they're so convinced that this thing is ruining their life, this thing's doing things to them, and they don't know how to get rid of it and all that stuff. After you get rid of it, there's some mental damage that has been done. That's where the psychology portion comes in. We help them kind of go through it. And while they're going through it, while they're trying to figure things out, this also has to deal with people who believe in alien abductions and stuff like that. While they're kind of processing the information that they think they have, it's my job to go in and help them differentiate what's true and false. Which is hard to do.
Right. Yeah. Now, going back to when you said demons are very rare. Yeah. How do you really know between if it's just a spirit? This is like a random ADHD thought, but I've actually was on vacation last year, and we were in this haunted, now I didn't know this because I would never have stayed there. We were in this haunted campground, and it was really nice, but I could not sleep, and I would go into the bathroom and I would hear something. It was just, okay, so fast forward all this stuff. I talked to spirit. I was like, okay, like, what's going on? Because I can't sleep. And this little boy that was murdered here, and he was apparently just in the corner, couldn't move, whatever happened. I didn't ask for any details. And he just wanted to be able to like cross over. Now have not done this a lot, and I don't claim to do that like multiple times, but I have helped like spirits cross over. He wanted to know that if his parents were still here. And that was the only thing keeping him here. Well, no, his parents were not there. I could simply ask, because they weren't physically there. So no, they're not here. This was like 20, 30 years ago, like thousands of probably years before that. And it was like that simple. And all of a sudden it was gone. The spirit was gone. The rest of the time. So I was thinking, I wonder if I helped him cross over, and all I heard was yes. So it's interesting. And I've only had a couple times that's happened. And it's normally when like, you're annoying me, I don't want you around me. I know you do this to help people, but I didn't know. I was going to ask you, like, I should have probably asked you this off the podcast, but it's okay. Because people probably had this experience, that's why I'm talking about it anyway. But it's that simple. Like, is it very that simple? Like, you answer the question and then they can go.
I mean, their unfinished business, my goodness, their unfinished business can be as simple as that, where they're just looking for someone. And when you answer that question and they realize that you're right, that's their unfinished business. You've solved their problem, they're going. Yeah. But sometimes it's a little more tricky than that. Like if a spirit doesn't want to leave, if they like being where they are and bothering people, or if they think that they're still alive and they don't want to leave their house. Like, I don't know, I've never experienced this, but this is like an example. It's a grumpy old man that lived in his house and he died in his house, and he really, really doesn't want to leave because he doesn't think he's dead, and he's just really stubborn, like, no, you're not going to mess with my things. And that's when things start to get bad, because he's mad because he thinks that you're messing with his house when you're just, living there.
Right. Like you're living in your
yeah. So it's like that. So when they're more stubborn, it's very difficult to get them to understand why they need to leave, why they need to cross over. And then there's the people that don't share what their problem is, their unfinished business is, and then you're like, you have to play the guessing game. I investigated this place in Delaware. It's a occult museum, or no, it's not a museum. It's an oddity shop, I think it is. And we investigated there because they have a lot of objects in that shop that are absolutely haunted. But they also had I don't know if he was the son of the owner, a family member. I don't know his story, but he had killed himself in the back of the shop. And he was still there, and he had a lot of unfinished business that was extremely sad and extremely emotionally draining for me to go through, let alone him. And I was feeling all of it. So that was a very fun time. But that's also difficult because that's your job as well, if you apply yourself to it, to feel everything that they felt, whether that be emotion, physical feelings, like feeling the actual pain in your head from the shotgun that he had used and stuff like that. It's excruciating. It's not a fun time, but if you are dedicated and you know that you can kind of separate, like, this isn't actually happening to me, I'm just feeling it because I'm connected to this person, then you can kind of help them move on. But it takes a lot of mental fortitude. It's hard.
Yeah, I was going to say, I give you all the credit, because I was going to say, like I said, it takes very special people there's a reason, this is your purpose, obviously, right? Like, this is what, for whatever reason, you signed up to come to Earth for. I say that all the time. I'm like, I guess in a way, I do it a different way, like with my clients too, right? Like I'm really good at healing with emotional trauma, or helping people heal with emotional trauma, just because I've done it with myself, and I just feel like I wish I had somebody like me when I was going through it. So what I could do for the world, or whoever resonates with me, is help you with what I know. I feel like that is what some people call me a spiritual mentor. I'm just a guide here to help you, whatever you need help with. Like, whatever you need, I'm here. If I know about it, I'll tell you about it. If I can help, I'll just, whatever. But yeah, I guess that would be some challenges that you would come across in your line of work, would you say?
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot. Like, very angry spirits are a pain in my butt. Very confusing. If there's too much happening, like if there's too many spirits and they all want my attention, or they all want to do something with whatever equipment we have, then it can get just very overwhelming. There's also trying to make, this is a more human issue, I guess you can say, but trying to keep the people who don't fully understand what's happening kind of out of the investigation is hard.
Oh yeah.
So, like, someone who has either hired us or invited us to investigate, and they just want to be there for the entire time, I'm fine with them being there for a small portion. Like, obviously you want to see what we're doing. I'm in your space. Like, it makes sense that you want to, like, make sure that, we're being respectful. You're curious about what's going on. But if you're, like, breathing down our necks the entire time, it can get very distracting. I'm not going to say who or where we're investigating, because I don't want anything to follow this person. But we were investigating a museum, a very famous museum in Ocean City, Maryland. And
Okay.
the owner was caught. We investigated there twice. The first time we investigated, there was definitely something there. But I guess the owner didn't think that we were getting enough I don't know, evidence, I guess you can say, because he also wanted to open this up to the public, like do open investigations and stuff like that. So I guess he was really looking for evidence, and we caught him faking evidence. So it's stuff like,
okay, yeah, that's
so
weird.
that's like, that's a very human, just actual problem that we can face, and it happens more often than you would think. 9 times out of 10, the humans involved that aren't like into like know what to do in an investigation space can be very disruptive.
I was gonna say, yeah, that has to be. I was thinking of like different challenges when you were talking about it, but then I didn't think that one challenge was actual humans like
Yeah,
trying to plant stuff to make things not what they are. That's actually interesting, you know.
yeah, very handy.
I mean, I have to say I'm not surprised, but you know.
Yeah, it's very handy to be a medium in those moments, because I can be like, that was fake, that wasn't real. That was something else.
Yeah. It's funny when I watch people, like I love people watching. Like I say this all the time, like when I get older, I think I'm gonna go sit them all and people watch, because I'm like, even in conversation when people are talking, I'm like, God, how I personally can't be fake because I just don't know how to be. Like I don't know how to fake a conversation, fake something. So
Yeah.
I'm like, it's interesting when how much people cover up. And I think it's a lot because of judgment. Like there's a lot of like they're gonna judge me, or I don't want them to see the real me. But now I feel like it's kind of hard to hide, you know, like, or
Yeah.
people are just very aware. I think they're very aware of things right now. So
Mm-hmm.
it's very interesting that you said that. Now I
Yeah,
want to talk
that
about,
is the most issue that we have, but other than
yeah,
that.
yeah, that's interesting. That's so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about how parapsychology like can help you bridge between the scientific and the spiritual world, especially for all you woo people that think that everything is not right.
Yeah.
If listening to this podcast, you believe that, you know that I'm a conspiracy theorist. You know I've been saying this so many, like, so long. And it's funny, my friends actually would make fun of me, like, "Oh, can you stop talking about astrology, or can you stop?" And now they come to me and ask me about stuff, and I'm like, "Oh, you," and I'm saying this, we're recording it with 11:11, that, oh, you used to make fun of me for my woo woo stuff. So anywho, I need to ask this question, especially because you are expert in your field. How does that parapsychology bridge between the scientific and spiritual? Because scientific is something that's proven, right? Spiritual, is energy. Like what is that bridge between the scientific and spiritual world?
I actually discovered this recently, through the head of our investigation group. He mentioned, because I was always wondering like how, I always thought it was like God given, like my gift was God given, but that might, I mean, there is some to it, because I'm not like religious per se, but I do believe in certain things because of what I go through on a daily. So I do believe that some of it is a gift from higher up somewhere. But I also believe in the scientific portion of it, because I'm always the type of person to try to figure out why. Like, why is this happening? How does this work? And our leader, Adam, he mentioned that he's our debunker. He's our classic debunker. He debunks everything, or tries to at least. So we call him our skeptic, even though he believes in everything. But he mentioned, he's like, you know how when we are investigating, we use EMF detectors to kind of channel the energy, get the spirits to come through, talk like that. What if that's what you do too? They are sensitive to EMF. That's what they use to talk. What if you are sensitive, or you have a connection to higher frequencies of EMF, and that's why you are able to hear them, see them, feel them? And that is scientific. So that is
completely interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the real thing. It's electromagnetic fields. My goodness. Very real thing. If I am more in tune to that, that makes sense. That is a scientific thing that can be proven. I have not gone through the process of trying to prove that, but it makes sense to me. And then with parapsychology, it's very much based on astrology. Like I had mentioned before, a lot of people don't realize that astrology is very important to one's life. Like I am an Aquarius. I used to think like all of these like horoscopes that you read and like personality traits for your star sign, your moon sign, whatever it is. It makes sense. And people always think like, oh, they're silly, goofy, but like you relate to them. Why is it that you relate to them? Because astrology is important and plays a role. There are certain star signs that are more susceptible to different things in life. My fiance is Pisces. He is very much, he denies that he's Pisces through and through, but he has the personality.
I have to say, they have a bad rap. Pisces men
Yeah.
have a very bad rap, and I don't know where it came from, but I mean, I guess, scientifically or, characteristics or whatever. Yeah. I mean, I could see where that I'm a Pisces moon and rising. I'm not,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a male, and I'm also an Aquarius. So it's like, I'm, I am very good at detachment, but I'm also very emotional. So it's like,
And that is psychologically and scientifically a fact. Your star, moon, rising is all connected to your personality traits. And when you compare those people who have the same star, moon, rising as you, they're going to have a similar personality to you.
right.
And that's just, it's science and it's psychology. And people don't realize it. They think it's intuition, it's spiritual stuff, it's magic or whatever. It's like, no, it's real. I promise you, I'm not just like some, I don't know, all-seeing eye, seer, like spiritualist. Like that's not what I am. I am technically a scientist. I'm a parapsychologist. I can do this. I can tell you for a fact that your personality is the way it is because of when you were born.
Right. Yes. And it's energy at the end of the day, regardless of what you believe. So like I was born and raised very Catholic.
Mhm.
So I believe God is God, but I don't believe it's a person. I don't believe it's a thing that I have to obey or
Mhm.
anything like that. I believe that Jesus came here to show us that he was a healer. We all can be healers. We don't need to, Jesus does not save anybody. I might lose a lot of followers for saying this, but it's just what I believe because I can prove it. I've channeled him. I've talked to him, it's actually, and many healers that have, or, people that mediums, whatever, they also will say the same thing. That it's funny. He like laughs because he's like, you humans think that I come save you. Like,
Yeah.
it's no, that's not it. That's man-made to control and to have fear. And it's like, and it actually makes me, I just realized it makes me so angry when people always give all of their, like if they're in the recovery from like drugs or alcohol or whatever, they're like, oh yeah, Jesus saved me or God saved, which is good to have a higher power, but you did that, not him. You did.
Exactly.
That's what makes me so angry because I'm like, you are giving all of your hard work to this person that you've never seen or this energy that you is not asking for it. So I think that's where my little shit. I always believed that there is angels, and it's not what the Bible says. I've always believed in all that other stuff, but and I also believe that there is a higher power. And I usually tell people, I'm not here to convince you that. You have to see it, feel it, whatever, believe it yourself. And, it's just that toxic Christian, you have to do this. You're going to be sin. You're going to go to hell. Like, what's hell? Like, it's not even,
Yeah.
it's really,
Mm-hmm.
it's called a different dimension and you're stuck here. So maybe
Yep.
hell is on earth and you're stuck on earth. Maybe that's hell.
That's fine.
Yeah, I don't know. Like maybe that's what the hell is. Because here's the thing: if I die, if I get stuck here, I would act like that. This would be hell. Like,
Yeah.
right? Like that's just my opinion. So it's just I always say like, and I obviously have had some death in my life. I believe in death. It's different. I believe it's just you go to a different dimension. I've always believed that because I've been able to see through the veil, like through different dimensions for so long that yes, it's sad and you grieve and all that stuff, but I'm like, these people are still here. You can talk to them, but people are looking at me like, what are you talking about? you alien. I'm like, of course,
Yeah.
but like, that's just what I feel that like the whole time, so anyway, getting back to when you said that spiritual, I feel like it, religious, spiritual, whatever, it's all just whatever you believe. You know what I mean? Like, so I welcome everybody. I don't try to change their beliefs. I'm like, you can believe whatever you want to believe. I just believe something different. And then, that's why I don't get on to like politics and religion on my podcast because, that could go very south very quickly. Right?
Our human mind is way more interesting than people like to let out. So there is a creature called, or I guess a spirit. It's not like a human spirit. It's a different kind of spirit, called an egregore. And I just started doing a lot of research on this thing because my fiance had figured it out too. We were investigating the same museum that I mentioned earlier, and we were so confused because the first time we investigated, it would present itself in a certain way. And then the second time we investigated it, we could both tell, like, okay, this is the same thing, but it's presenting itself very differently. What it does, and then when you listen to the stories of the people who have had experiences at this particular museum, they all have a different thing. They all can tell, kind of like pinpoint where it's happening, but they're seeing different things. An egregore is a creature that will take your mass paranoia. So if this creature is seeing a group of people freak out about a particular object in the museum, so they're passing something like, oh, that's really creepy, and multiple people say it's creepy, multiple people say like that makes me uncomfortable just looking at it, whatever it is, that egregore would then kind of take note of that, like, oh, people are scared of this, that's how I'm going to get what I want, and then kind of alter itself to be what they put forward. And that is all human mind. The human mind does that. This thing can tell, like, oh, this is scary, I'm going to be this thing now, and then completely take form of this thing and use that to torment the people that were originally scared of it. And that is your fault. That is humans' fault that you did. And right. It's so hard to explain, and that's also I've known this for a very long time. Poltergeists are not necessarily spirits, not all the time. Poltergeists are caused by usually women's intense emotion. So,
oh wow,
yeah, it's usually a woman. A woman can be going through something in her life where she's feeling completely hopeless and doesn't know what to do with herself. And all of that pent up energy from within you that you're like holding in, not knowing how to expel, not getting the help that you need from a parapsychologist, or a regular psychologist, really, all that pent up energy it has to leave somehow. It has to go somewhere. Right. And that will go to things being thrown, objects moving, and people don't realize that they're the ones doing it. And that is also science. That is energy, a transfer of energy going from you to something else. So right. That a lot of people don't realize that they have that power. It's not necessarily a power. It's just a thing that we can do. If you really kind of focus it. And that's why I believe that my ability isn't necessarily like power, like a magic thing. I know it's scientific. I know that there is a reason for it, that can be scientifically proven. And I don't know. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, no, I 100%. Yeah. Thank you for explaining that because I was literally, you just read my mind because I was going to ask you what the difference between those were. So thank you for explaining that. I'm sure other people listening, probably. I have a lot of people that like paranormal, and they had asked me before I even asked you if you wanted to be on, can you have more people? Because there was a couple episodes before that they, I guess it's been a couple months ago that she used to do investigations. So like very popular investigations for like, missing kids and all that stuff. Tons of them, but so they really enjoyed that episode. And so I'm happy that now we have another one. So before, I was gonna say, before we wrap up, what advice would you give somebody who is interested in maybe pursuing a career with mediumship or maybe parapsychology or even paranormal investigations?
Definitely learn how to protect yourself. Whether it be with prayer, blessings, whatever it could be, because even if you don't fully believe in religion, a lot of spirits and a lot of malevolent things do, and they're scared of it. So if you protect yourself with the believed power of God or whatever it is that you're using, usually people will, or these things will not bother you as much. Especially if you're like, if it's your first time. Definitely, if you start feeling overwhelmed, remove yourself, don't push. If you are not a medium, but it's very hard to become a medium if you're not a medium, but if you think that you're sensitive, before you even go into a haunted situation that you know is haunted or whatever, an investigation, don't do that until you fully understand your ability. And if you don't know how to do that, find someone that can help you understand your ability. That's
I
the
love
biggest things.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that advice. And thank you so much for joining us on today's episode with Emma on the Enlightened Misfits podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and make sure you check out her links that will be below if you're watching this on YouTube or below in the description box on Spotify or wherever you're listening to this episode. And share this with somebody that you feel that would gain knowledge from listening. Stay tuned for more captivating conversations in the future. I hope you have an amazing rest of your week, and I will see you next time. Thank you for joining us on another enlightening episode on the Enlightened Misfits podcast. If you are a current or inspiring to be fempreneur, suffering from the fear of being seen and or feel very triggered when you're building your business, reach out to me at The Mermaid Light about my Rich and Resilient Biz Baddies. This is a collective text message Voxer support group designed to help you heal your triggers and turn imposter syndrome into bad bitch energy. If you resonate with our conversations and insight, don't forget to subscribe, rate the show, and leave a review. Your feedback fuels our mission. Remember, your journey to unwavering certainty and purpose is ongoing. So please make sure you stay connected with us on social media. Keep manifesting greatness in your life. Until next time, this is Lauren from the Enlightened Misfits podcast. Stay enlightened, stay inspired, and keep manifesting your extraordinary path.